Okay, you probably saw me go right past and go, wait, it's there, god damn it. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so we go from 5 and 6 of cups. From the 5 of cups to the 6 of cups to the 6 of swords. So that's a 5 and 2 sixes, but 2 lovely sixes, yes? This can just go to show. Like, and then I put them in order from outer to inner. I played with different different orders of them, yes, over the last year or so. And then I was like, well, what matches your trajectory so far in life, yeah? And so I really hope, it would be really nice if this worked out this way. Because this makes sense so far. And then what we do is we hit 9 of cups. And this is my only 10 of pentacles placement in my chart. Of all the possibilities. This is the only time anything hits, 10 of pentacles for me. Very specific. So my career energy, my completion energy is extremely tied to Uranus. So to figure out what Uranus means when it is in that quincunx with Venus, right? That 150 degree, I think it's 153 degree relationship with Venus, something like that. I've got it written down on one of the other pages. But now in terms of my Venus over here, why do I do it this way? Which has, it's in my 7th. So let's just say, let's just pull her out because it's in my 7th. And let's see. And then of course Uranus is tied to my 7th. It's tied to Libra. So here is Venus, yes, starting off in Gemini season with the Ace of Swords placement. Okay. Then a 2 and 3 of Pentacles split. That's where she hits. Okay. And then in Libra, she hits a 5-6 split. No, actually, does she hit a split? No, she's uniquely 5 of Swords. Okay. Let me just double check that. No. It could be both. Because I'm pretty sure I had her listed as a 6 of Swords as well. And it's just right there. It's just right there. It's where it hits, okay? And then in Virgo, in the Regiomontana system, then I've got the 5, right? So this is, for me, my Venus story. This is this story compared to this story, which is so interesting because we have a 5 and we have a 10. We have no cups in here. We start with the Sword of Truth, and we have a 3 of system, being in the institution and being out of the institution. Yes? 5, the necessary change. Necessary change, necessary change. We have a necessary change. So, but happiness, we have a 6, and we have a 6, and we have a 9, we have wish fulfillment, and 10 of Pentacles, right? And so how these work together, affected by the Jupiter, it has its own cards. I won't get into all of that, right? But it, and the Lilith, right next to the Jupiter, right? Plus the Neptune, because 7th for me is tied to 12th. So the Neptune placement as well. And then I have a Pluto placement that affects it. Also in Libra season. So this is, I find this gives me an accurate, I go and I check my Mercury and it's like, wait a minute, I do have a happy mind. So what the hell's wrong? Back to who's helping. my Ace of Cups journey, because my 7th house ends in the Ace of Cups position. My 10th, 11th, 12th houses, plus my 9th house aura in my Libra journey in that season, in that time of year. So that means all my Queen and King energy, my abilities in King and Queen energy since birth, right? I came into the world with Queen and King energy in that area. That's what you see when you look at your King and Queen placements, your 11th, 12th, 10th houses and 9th houses, where they are in your chart. That's where you came in knowing what to do. Everything else needed time. But again, my double Venus being in... So all these journeys, I was looking at it in terms of journey, because I had to take time in order to figure out how I wanted to answer this. And evaluating this embassy cultural ambassador thing. And so because I'm heavy into launching the drawing instruction again, relaunching it, the language, the decoding, the Libra work, I didn't appreciate how Libra the work is that I'm doing with that in breaking codes, in symbolic language, because that's one of my foci in the drawing instruction. But again, I've got ties to Egypt, every goddamn time. Hatshepsut. When I was in Egypt, one of the main things that happened for me was going to Hatshepsut's temple. And yes, I took my 10-year-old with me there. Well, when he was 10. I worked for 10,000 villages. I volunteered there. I was the first student volunteer that they'd ever had. And that was a fair trade operation with a Mennonite Central Committee. I know they've canceled it in Canada. I don't know if they've canceled it everywhere. But after I volunteered for them, then they started hiring students, which isn't the same thing at all. So I felt proud to have been a volunteer. My Anne of Amsterdam work. There's several people that haunt me. Me as the other. So what I did is I found out that I learned more about me in the 7th house because of all the work I've done with others. It's like reflections of me. They reflect me back to me, right? What I've done with them. So I have a tremendous sense of self coming out of this house. And a lot of the logistics of it. And I went and I studied my... I matched up Venus cycles of those 5... like a cycle of 5 sets of 8 years, because Venus traces a 5-petaled rose around Earth in its orbit around the sun, yeah? And so, like I've got on the Venus page, so if you think in terms of every 8 years, leading from 0 to 40, or to 42, 43, right? Because, and I allowed for a Mars cycle, and I allowed for a Mercury cycle. And a Mars cycle would be every 2 years, and a Mercury cycle would be just past every 3 years. And how those line up. And that's where I started to get clear about my ideas about contracts or no contracts, and exactly how rogue I am. And that means that I need to be prepared to push even more, because people are not going to wake up to their end of a soul contract with me, because there's no contract. I didn't want to have contracts with victims. I didn't want to have a contract with David Schroeder, because that meant that we negotiated ahead of time in the spirit world or wherever in heaven, right, that he was going to go through horrific trafficking and abuse. I'm never going to say yes to a contract like that. No, we come from different places. We recognize each other. Now he's sure that I'm one of the enemy, but we spent enough time together, and it'll all turn out okay. It'll all turn out okay. But I was like, no, I can't say yes to having a contract that agrees to him going through that, and I don't have to go through it. No, not even then. Not even for the sake of hacking the system. No way. So, yeah, that's where I got to with this. So who's helping me here? Who's helping you in this house? Who's helping you to know yourself? And where are we going with it? So for me, this is the continuation of the journey. Now what I do is I get clear on all the roots that I'm clear on them, and now I figure out, now I put into motion what I have from that clarity. Now I can springboard, yes, into being the ambassador, which means on all levels, whoever is prepared to help pave the way and prepare the way, yeah. But I find a lot of human connections are actually going to be fairly tied in with this, if this is making any sense to you. So yes, it becomes very practical, it becomes very, as we'd expect with Libra, but a clarity around who is handing out who God is, Mother God, Father God. And at this point, with the work that they've led me into, I'm very clear about, I've always known how real my connections to Ireland, to Scotland, to England are on the spiritual level, on the genetic level. And I actually stayed away from connecting with it long enough because I knew how strong the druidic stuff is and the shamanist stuff is, right? And I didn't want to just become part of, I didn't want to get absorbed into something that I didn't know all about, right? And I still won't get absorbed into any one particular thing. I'm me and God's God. Because it is dangerous, absolutely dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. And you have to be prepared. But even math itself and science itself, numerology itself is proof that there's evil, because numerology is nuts. It's beautiful, but it's nuts. It's true, but pure math is more beautiful than numerology. And I came to this through pure math. I spent years with math first. I spent years with science first. I spent years with drawing first. They're better than this. But this is I'm not saying astrology isn't beautiful. Astrology is gorgeous. And we're nowhere without it. Because the others can't solve what astrology can solve, right? So the whole thing of Venus, the truth, the high priestess and the truth. But the truth about who Great Mother is and the price people have paid, the prices people have paid to stand in the truth of Great Mother. And then the truth, therefore, of who Great Father is. In the Celtic, there is one of the cards that came through for me is Morrigan, twice, in two different forms. She's known as the Kali to some, and she certainly carries the energy of Kali in, and she's basically Europe's Great Mother, going back, like, let's say, well, I don't know what, I can't remember the numbers, but in terms of years, it's comparable, right? Okay, so she's Kali. She's Kali. Green Man is Shiva, amongst others, right? Like, he has Sanskrit, he has all kinds of pasts, yes, and he's been associated with Shiva. So Kali and Shiva, husband and wife, husband, you know, do this stuff. And we find out, you know, it's just, and then we go, okay, so then how does that correspond to what's coming out of Africa? How does that correspond to Aboriginal, right? Let's get honest about whose histories we're covering up. Let's get honest about how much India has lost. We've taken, you know, we've shut their history down. What happened to them when Islam came to India? And I've just been learning, because July was persecution of Hinduism month, awareness month, right? But what happened through the tax system once Islam came to India, and basically you were allowed a lower, the incentive, should we say incentive, was to have a lower tax bracket if you converted to Islam. And I'm, on pain of what exactly, right? And so too many people caved for however many reasons, yes? And this was talked about Sangam Talks on YouTube. They put a post up about this. And I have, again, like I have a woman who's like an adopted mother to me who's Muslim, Pakistani Muslim. I love her to bits. She's the warmest human being I've ever known, right? And I come from Christianity. This is all, and I'm so steeped in, to be Christian is to be Jewish, so, sorry, it is. But to be like dumb about Judaism, basically. To have like a watered down version of it, and then to be ignorant of Kabbalah and Torah and Talmud, and then what's the other one? Starts with a T. I'll get it. I've got it written down. But, and so you have to get smart about all that, and then you have to go read Kamal Salibi, Bible Came from Arabia. But, no, and then you need to know the Masons. You need to know the Masons have been everywhere. The Templars were everywhere. Fingers in all the pies. So, to know all that, it's all Libra work for me. It's all been Venus and Jupiter work for me, with the help of, but I can't ignore that Jupiter just, they say in Vedic astrology, when Jupiter's in a house, he just almost obliterates the house because his energy is that huge. So he's in my 7th. In Gemini. I didn't stand a prayer for not having tons of information come through. But yes, things come at the cost of that. So, what do I want to say? Where we're going with this, where you're going with your 7th. Your 7th takes you to the truth. You have to do the work. But then in knowing the objective truth, you know the truth about yourself as well. It's so interesting. In contrast to 4th house, knowing yourself, it's like the water signs are like the behaviors, like the core behaviors, the habits, the being, right? The movements. And then in comes the information. The data, the facts, but also the communication. Not that, but again, water is so communicative as well. So it's just interesting to think about what I know about myself in 7th house compared to what I was learning about myself in the water signs, in the water houses. So time will tell. So now that we're heading into Gemini, so I'll shut up, but I think I've pretty much covered everything that all the aha moments. I've had dreams, I haven't had a visitation in the sense of how Kali visited me, but I did have 2 lucid dreams, one that continued. I woke up and I went and did things, and then I fell back asleep and went back into exactly the same dream, and they took something from somebody else and gave it to me and asked me to look after it because the other person didn't want it. And then the next one was a mind control break, connected to my mother and my father. And then it was affirmed by Victoria talking about it the day after. Both those happened on one day after another, right? But in terms of who I've reconnected with over the past week, doing all of this work, I went back into fairyland. I went back into the deep magic state. I was bridging the worlds before, and now I'm more in that world than this one. I'm still very much in this world, but in terms of, I'm not trying to make relationships work in this one the way I was trying before. Now I'm focusing on the magic relationships, on the crazy wild relationships, and that energy, because that energy is what's going to keep me protected and keep me brave enough to do the scary shit that I need to do. Because this next comedy novel that they've got me writing is scary as fuck, because I'm going to piss off people, hopefully successfully. I've already been pissing people off. I've already got the Met Police angry, well, some of them angry at me. I had them shut down several of their pages on their website because I found out that Scotland Yard's a commercial brand. That's all that it is. And they were dumb enough to have it published up there because they were licensing their name. All it was a moneymaker for them. There is no Scotland Yard. There's no special branch. It's bullshit. So every time you see a headline that says Scotland Yard, it's a lie. It's the Met Police. That's it. But they knew that people trusted. They did an international study and they found out that people trust the name Scotland Yard. Well then. So they licensed it. And they put web pages up advertising it to who they want to advertise it to, right? You're not supposed to find those pages. But I needed to try to help somebody who was kidnapped by contacting Scotland Yard. He said, please contact Scotland Yard. John Patterson, the fraud, the fake activist, connected to Hampstead. But it's been a long time, right? But anyway, so I looked up how to contact Scotland Yard to ask them to help John Patterson. Same last name as me. Even the same name as my dad. No, he's on paid vacation, but that's how I found out. That's how I found the pages. And I went after them with it, and I've got enough connections. I let Tony Lovell know, and Tony Lovell's pissed everybody off in power because they killed her son Ambrose in 2015. Same time as the Hampstead story broke, Ambrose went to Christchurch as a student. Same church named Bunny Lake, starring Carol Lindley, Otto Preminger. He reset that movie from New York to London because he knows how dark and dirty London can be. Not that New York can't be, but he picked Hampstead for the story of a 5-year-old girl that goes missing from a primary school. McMartin was proved to be true. The McMartin preschool case in California, the mom, one of the moms who was accused of everything, of being such a drunken fraud, and she's the one that hired the guy who found the tunnels under the preschool. During the trial, it was it wasn't allowed as evidence during the trial because it was all the most expensive trial in U.S. history. To pretend, and then they create the satanic panic just to try to play the whole thing off as a joke so that they can push it away, they can blow it up and push it away. And then everybody, all the children get discredited, the parents get discredited, and the preschool, the people running it get exonerated. James Woods plays the lawyer, their lawyer in the HBO movie. They're monetizing it. They've got ad money all over those searches. I found that out. I talked about it, and I caught, I've been in the rings of people that nobody wants to be in. And that's how I get accused of being one of the bad guys, is because I know too much, because I just go digging. I do this stuff. Steve Outram, Nathan Stoltman. Nathan Stoltman's so happy that when I got shut down. Thomas Schoenberger. Gabe Hoffman. Those are the Americans. Well, Steve Outram's, New Zealand? Hanging out in Australia. But they're all connected to the UK. Hoaxstead, the antithesis of Hampstead. But Hampstead was set up. We were set up as then the person that I was helping out, she outed everybody. Made a run for it and outed everybody. But no, McMartin was proved. The FBI admitted to McMartin last year, the year before. They published the truth. Too late for doing anything worthwhile for the mom that actually proved it at the time. So Hampstead's real. There are tunnels. But yeah. And now I'll take all the evidence that I know about Orange Lodge, Orange Order of Canada. They pretend to be done. They're not. They still have a live webpage. They make it look like they're all running out of numbers. But you know what they did? Because Tommy Douglas was an Orangeman. Same as John A. MacDonald. Lucy Maud Montgomery. I go down my Anne of Green Gables rabbit hole because that's where I went. That's where I moved out to when I was 19. Saved up since I was 14. I had the plan since I was 14 to go to PEI. Because all I could do was, because my mom was so sick for so long, I didn't have a sense of self. I was watching 80s TV shows, right? So I created a persona out of Anne Shirley. I didn't love everything that she loved. I just was her. A modern her. Which comes with its problems, yeah? But yeah, so I went out there, I moved out there to go to university. And that's where I got pregnant. So my kid has to cope with the fact that he exists because of Anne of Green Gables. Or that's how and why, how it came to pass, right? But Lucy Maud belonged to some very important grandparents and ancestors, Scottish ancestors that come over easily. I haven't found it yet, but I have found the history of the Orange Lodge and PEI in Newfoundland, bigger in Newfoundland than in Northern Ireland. And Toronto used to be the Belfast, known as the Belfast of Canada, because it was so orange, with its parades and its activities. Yep. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. And in order to be part of the Black Royal Lodge, you first have to be part of the Orange Lodge. So, of course, Tommy Douglas, starting up the NDP, well, I got a notice in the mailbox from Leah Gazin, who is a First Nations NDP Member of Parliament for Winnipeg Centre, right where I live. And I'm going to just package up all my evidence about Orange Lodge and Orange Shirt Day and the people in charge of it and how they're all attached to OBEs and other awards from the Queen and the London Children's Aid Society that is contributing financially to Orange Shirt Day. I don't know why you want blood money from the London Children's Aid Society, because they steal children. So I'll go through all my evidence of what is what and how many crimes and what the truth is. She likes to call it all a genocide. It is a genocide. And let's see how honest she is. But I'll put everything together. I'll do my Libra thing and I'll put it in her direction. And if I can be helpful and if she's on board, then maybe we get somewhere. Maybe we get somewhere very dangerous with the truth. So far, nobody else has wanted to know it. But that's where I'm going with this house. So where are you going with yours? It's pretty awesome, isn't it? What's in your house? What's in your Libra? Where's your Venus? Watch out for her. Such an oversimplification to say she's about love. Well, don't oversimplify love, right? Don't oversimplify. So the Great Mother. Great Mother's house, Heaven's house. And we've come a long ways in knowing. And I guess that's that for now. I think my energy's clear around it and just about set to go into Gemini. So we go from embassy compound into a swanky penthouse. That's what we do. And we see what Gemini and the twins have to offer. We do have, let's see, the sun's just hit the beehive cluster. It's probably through the beehive cluster already. But I guess, are we mostly clear from Gemini then? No, we've still got Mercury going through Gemini. We've got Mercury going through Gemini for a bit yet. We did it. No, we don't. That's right, I forgot. Over here. It went through Gemini fast. It hit Cancer on the 25th. Damn. Okay. No, we're clear out of Gemini. No planets in Gemini. Okay. Alright. Wait a minute. Uranus. No, Aries. Right. It never got out of Aries. Okay. Okay, shut my mouth. So planets in Cancer and Leo. And Aries is next closest. Virgo. Okay, so we're past Gemini energy, so it'll be interesting to examine Gemini without anything in Gemini, apart from your own placements. But entering, like right now we're in 4th house season, and it's, because that certainly is what happened when we get back to this. Yes, okay. Right, final words. This house 4 that we've been through. When we hit that midpoint, absolutely, I was going to do my letter to Molly Parkin, and I'm still working on it. But I'm going to do a series of booklets. I'm going to do a publication for her about my book, the sex comedy novel, right? That's all coming together. So I feel like all the work that they had me do about the ancestors and getting the perspective and getting myself set is so that I know who I am when I contact her or anybody else. Now I kind of know what my biography is. But certainly I needed to send in my lease renewal. My kid had his first COVID shot, the gene therapy shot, shall we say. I'm not going to call it a vaccine because it isn't. But he needed to do it because he's going to go visit his dad in PEI. Okay? So he has a reason for doing it. He also has work to go back to soon, and he'll need to be back gene therapied for that. But so there were family things that came through that needed looking after. There's something else as well. And certainly all this root work. So 4th house, absolutely. I wanted to do something intentional with it, knowing that it would be connected to 4th, that overlap would bring very strong energy for doing something about roots, but it certainly carried over, especially because of Lionsgate Portal, but all the prep work, so there was overlap. Certainly came through. So, and then, yes, getting, having to stop and make sure that I get the lease renewal done and sent in, and taking time to be, my kid has some health history problems, so like he has a breathing history problem, and he has an epilepsy history problem that he outgrew. And so I wanted to be on hand for when he came out, just to make sure that he'd be okay, and he was. I think they even gave him a placebo shot. I wouldn't be surprised. But there were things that happened that were absolutely just family related in that time. So heading into 5th house, the middle 5 to 6 days of August, they can be used well for creativity, we'll see, or expression. So we'll see whether it's, because I said I want to change this possibly from getting guidance to giving guidance, right? And it ended up being both. So we'll see if this is about getting creative or getting expressive, taking a leadership role. We'll see what happens in those middle 5 to 6 days. Okay? Just looking forward a little bit. And I realize That's it. That's it for Libra. It's over too soon. I think that's what I'm feeling. It's like, it's wow. That was, I felt a lot of balance in it. I was early for just about everything all month. I kind of would like to hang on to that. That was great. And maybe because everything's getting solved, I will hang on to that. But definitely what I know about Libra now compared to what I knew going in, like, holy shit. Holy shit. So thank you, Libra. Thank you, Libra, and I will carry that knowledge over into everything that I do in Libra readings, of course. Okay? I'll be back in a few days with the first, so week 20 with Gemini. Much love. If you've watched this far, bless you and thank you.